Tonight we are going to learn from a master. Since 2010, Alex Kish has been the host of the world-famous Wassup Rocker Radio, a weekly 1-hour internet radio show out of Toledo, Ohio, airing Wednesday nights and featuring the sickest new sounds in punk, garage rock, and power pop from the underground. He also hosts Shake Some Action, a 60s, 70s garage, power pop, glam, and psych radio show airing Sundays on WFMU's Sheena's Jungle Room. Alex's career hosting radio shows goes all the way back to the year 2000. He was doing underground radio before underground radio was cool. We are pleased to welcome to the program Mr. Alex Kish.
When every day's feeling like a Monday morning, staying out late, kinda good for it. Do what you wanna when you wanna do something now. I'm getting older by day, younger at night. I need a little something to feel alright. Yeah, do what you wanna when you wanna do something now. Yeah, you do what you wanna when you wanna do something now. Chances are you've made some choices, but I'll hear no inner voice.
A brand new experience. I feel like I'm on Howard Stern or some shit.
Well, Josh is more the stern personality.
we like to have the radio guys on because they always have so much to say and they're so good to talk to. When we did the Rock and Roll Manifesto guy, that was so easy. I just asked the questions and he gave me the professional radio personality.
So I had your questions pulled up and all that, and now my computer's all like, no, but I have at least my answers. So wait,
okay,
I think
cool.
I think it's loading. It's starting to. I swear
That's all you need.
There we go. I think it's gonna open. There it is. Got it. Okay. Technical difficulties over. It's part of my job every day doing IT work. So there's a little backstory. I'm an IT guy at a financial institution here in Toledo.
Oh.
It's a credit union level, so it's like not as bad of working for the man as like I could be working for the man for like, Key Bank or some shit like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
Yeah.
Wells. Like secretly lowering people's mortgages and stuff.
Right.
Contributing to the demise of the working class. Yeah,
So-
now's the portion of the program where Jay and I try to take the prepared questions and make them sound conversational.
Okay.
It's not as easy as it looks.
We haven't quite got to the Howard Stern level yet, but we're working on it. So what do you think, Jay? You want to just
Well, let me how about I start asking you guys a couple questions?
Whoa!
We'll turn it around, see?
I like that.
So like so I had stumbled upon both you guys' blogs over the years looking for songs when I wasn't doing it the hard way. What got Jay, what got you into being in audio ammunition, and what got you into Faster Louder, Josh? What was the key moment you're like, fuck this, people need to know what I need to say about this band stuff. Like
Josh, you can start if you want. Go ahead.
So I had honestly thought that I was retired from all sort of thing, having done it since 1995. Finally stopping in 2007 and just was going on with my life. But I had been on social media for a couple of years, and some of the music people from my past had come back into my life, and I just started getting curious about the scene and what was going on in music. And I was doing record reviews of old records for my friend's blog. It was called Dirty Sheets, and we just did reviews of records that we liked from over the years.
Okay.
And it kind of gave me the bug again to start writing about music. But I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to enjoy it. No more doing some webzine where I let people send me records and I have to review everything. And even if it sucks, I'm going to review it. And I'm only going to write about the stuff I like, and I'm only going to be positive. So that whole negative vibe I had going on in the late 90s and early 2000s and complaining about commercial music and all of that, I just put that all aside and just started writing about music that I loved. And that's what's kept me going with this. Is it's always fun because I don't waste my time with things that don't get me excited. And so almost 11 years now with the Faster and Louder.
Very cool.
That's cool. That's actually pretty revolutionary, you know? Like, I always thought, well, you know, you have to take the good with the bad, but apparently you don't. Um, so I started with my friend Ed, who used to be in that band Radio Hearts. We knew each other, well, like when we were in college. Our girlfriends actually were best friends, and then that's how I met him. And then he moved to California, he moved to Long Beach. And he was like, hey, you know, just out of the blue one time, he's like, hey, what would you think about starting a blog together? I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because I don't have time. And no, I don't know anything. And I don't know anyone, who would care what I would say. So then he started it. He started Audio Ammunition for a couple years. And then he asked me, he's like, hey, he goes, how would you, and then I read it and I'm like, gosh, that's weird. I would talk to him like, how did you get, you know, like these people to talk to you, you know? And he's like, I just ask them. I just go on Facebook and I say, hey, you want to do an email or an email interview? And they always say, yeah. I'm like, okay, man, I'll try that. And it was so fun. And doing a blog it's so easy. At least like the server or whatever, the templates that Ed used, it was so user friendly. And because I'm so not tech savvy at all. Ask Josh. like all thumbs when it comes to keyboards. And so we were doing it, and you know, I'd ask all these bands that I liked, you know, gosh, I can't even remember. I think I started out with like a lot of local bands, and I just kind of branched out from there. And I met a lot of really awesome people. You know, doing interviews like the guys from The Connection and Danny Lodge and just to name a few. Chris from Autogram, or Chad. I'm sorry, Chad from Autogram. Lots of just really, really great people. And then we started doing record reviews, and that just snowballed. It just actually just avalanched on us because it was so much. I think that's pretty much what broke us, is just the amount of record reviews that were coming in, and we couldn't keep up. But it's really fun. And anybody that thinks that nobody will listen or nobody would care, it's like that's totally the wrong attitude. If everyone is well, not everyone, but I'd say 95% of the people you come in contact with are so grateful for you to write, to take time and write about it. Mm-hmm. And you know, I guess voice your appreciation for their craft. And everybody's just, or most people are so super thankful, and you meet a lot of really cool people. And so that's kind of how I got started.
Did you guys were either of you in bands and stuff before you got into blogging and doing reviews for various publications?
I was not. I was just a huge record nerd, and I just would buy everything.
I'm also a record nerd.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh.
There's all underneath. There's more records. So
Alex just panned his camera around to show his room and his
and also
type collection.
And also, you know, Buzzcocks, because they rule.
Of course. But yeah, I was a huge record nerd, and I was just order everything off of the MRR you know, lists of some of the reviewers that I liked and I trusted. And basically I got a big giant crate from Underground Medicine every month.
Nice. That's awesome.
How about you, Josh?
I had never been in bands when I started doing zines. I was in one band very briefly. In 1996, we played 3 shows, and then that was my extent of my musical career. So I was always on the reviewing side of things rather than being on the musical side, which is good, because I was in the musical side long enough to realize how hard it is and how amazing it is that all of these bands make this incredible music.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff was it though, Josh? Just curious. Like, was it hardcore stuff? Was it punk rock? Like,
The band that I was in, we were kind of like really aggressive pop punk.
hell
And
yeah.
so we started off trying to be a pop punk band, but I couldn't really sing well enough for it to be a really good pop punk band. So I just started listening to Dead Kennedys records all the time and just trying to like completely ape the vocals. And so we were playing like Ramones songs with the Jello Biafra vocals. Like I can see why they broke up the band before we could play a fourth show.
Your band wasn't called the Showcase Showdown by any chance, was it?
No. But it was the same era. We could have been the Showcase Showdown ripoffs.
That's cool, man. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, it was not a long career in music for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry I got you guys off guard with that. I didn't prep you for my questions.
That's good.
This is fun, man. Yeah, it shakes things up a little bit.
We want to have good conversations, and that's the whole idea here. We're just glad that one person actually cares about the backgrounds of our blogs.
Right.
It feels really good. So it kind of leads us into our prepared program for tonight. And I just think it's awesome, Alex, that you have been in radio now for over 20 years.
Yes.
So we'd just love to hear the story of just how you got started on this long journey into hosting radio shows.
So just to introduce myself, my name's Alex Kish. I do a radio show currently on WFMU out of New Jersey. It's a freeform channel, nonprofit. It's listener funded. Nobody's paid at the channel. It's really just like every donation goes back into the station and keeping the bills paid and stuff. So I really dig the DIY-ness and freeform, channel variety. There's just so much weirdness on there. And, it's kind of like a Portland thing almost, like what they're doing, but they're in New Jersey. But I really dig it. And my show is called Wassup Rocker Radio. It's every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And, I'll plug my buddy from Japan who actually I got him a show on WFMU. His name is Mike Rogers. He used to be like an assistant to Rodney Bingenheimer. And he's like in his, I think he's pushing 70 right now. Rodney Bingenheimer, I think, is pushing like 90. And Mike's a really cool dude. He's been doing radio since, I think, the 80s or 90s. And he ended up leaving LA after being in this band, the Rotters. They did a song called, what is it? Sit on My Face. Stevie Nicks was the big hit. Pretty crude, but he's an interesting character. He's really fun to talk to. He video chats me all the time. He's like, I consider him one of my best friends, even though I've never met him in person. He's always like, come out to Japan in like May and we'll go to this show. I'm like, that'd be amazing if prices weren't insane. But his show's 5 to 7 on there, and he plays a lot of new and old, interesting Japanese bands in the punk rock genre, rock and roll, garage rock, all that kind of fun. And I play punk rock, power pop, glam rock, sometimes psych rock, depending on my mood, and some rock and roll here and there. Not like current top, whatever you call rock and roll these days. More like interesting rock that's like things that sound like Exploding Hearts and stuff like that. And I also play like glam rock reissues and stuff. I'm pretty much all over the board. I try to keep it interesting, and eventually, whenever they approve it, because they just got doing their second fundraiser at the channel, I'm going to probably be starting a show on Sundays, 6 p.m. Eastern time, called Shake Some Action. So I'm excited to do that one. That's a little bit different. It's pretty much everything else but punk rock. And it's going to, it's going to be a Sunday crowd. So we'll see how it goes.
Cool, man. So you play all that type of music, and you also curate and put the shows together, right? The music.
Yep.
So what all, can you tell us what all goes into that? Like, how do you select all that?
Well, if I go and like go back to 2000, right? There was a CD wall behind you at the station there, at the station I started at, WXUT here in Toledo. Actually, that one had a cabinet of CDs that we couldn't really access, so we more or less had to bring our own stack of CDs with us to play. I did a show with my friend from high school. I was a junior at the time. He was a senior. He knew friends that were involved with radio, and we ended up getting a show together and did it at WXUT at Toledo, University of Toledo. And we actually got inspired to do that from this band Next to Nothing, who's a hardcore band from here in Toledo. They eventually, members of that band became Premonitions of War. And we used to listen to their show and try to get hip to all the hardcore music and stuff that they were excited about. And the guitarist actually worked at Lumberjack Distribution that's located here in town before they signed All American Rejects and went to the big time with Doghouse Records, who actually was like the people who owned Lumberjack. I think they were Lumberjack Mortem, I think was the distribution. And we would be able to like go there, like, because we were friends with those guys, and we could like shop. It was crazy to walk into a warehouse, and it was just like everything you'd ever want, you like read about in zines or like saw in like an insert in a CD. It was like right there, and it was like at cost. They're like, yeah, it'll be like $20, and we walk up with like 5 CDs. It was amazing.
Man.
If I was buying vinyl, I would be sitting on a gold mine. See, but I was a fool. Only bought CDs at the time. But it was really cool to have that kind of relationship. Walk up and be like, "Hi, Dirk," you know, the guy from Doghouse that like signed the Get Up Kids, one of my favorite bands ever. And he's like listening to like the new As Friends Rust record. It was called One, WON, and highly recommend that record if you're into like screamo from like the mid 2000s. It was just insane. I'm just like, what is that? He's like, oh, it's As Friends Rust 1. Here, have it. Like, I'm just like, what? This is insane. Like, it's a time just blowing my mind. You know, just either in high school or just out of high school, just being like handed this record I thought was a gold record, you know, at the time. Just like, holy shit. But so anyway, we were listening to those guys do their show on WXUT, got inspired, decided to do our own thing. We pretty much copycatted their stuff until we branched out and found our own things that we probably bought at Lumberjack, and we're just, you know, doing free promotion for them on the local radio here. We were into like Strife, Earth Crisis, things on Victory, Walls of Jericho. I'm just like name dropping like crazy, you know, like Dead Guy, like that kind of like super brutal hardcore. And then like this band Earth Mover out of Detroit blew my mind when I heard their first record. And if you guys aren't hip to Earth Mover, it's some pretty serious hardcore. Similar to Strife and Earth Crisis, but I don't know, something about Detroit that seems like really pissed. Like Walls of Jericho's super pissed. So like there'll be like dudes out there like singing or screaming. I'm just like, oh, they aren't really mad. You actually should want Detroit. Like, yeah, they're super pissed. Just like when I watch Tragedy play, I'm like, Todd Threat is pissed the fuck off. It's an experience. I mean, you guys know, you've gone to hardcore shows and just like, this guy means it, this guy doesn't. You know, this guy's in it for the money, but this guy's actually had a fucking horrible day when he wrote this record. You know. But anyway, going back to the curating of the show, I mean, like, after I left WXUT, I went to Bowling Green State. That's about a half hour south of Toledo in Bowling Green, Ohio. And I joined their station down there, WBGU, and they had a wall of CDs. And you had to play 14 currents on your 2-hour show. 7 currents per show, which I felt like was half my show because of punk rock and short hardcore songs and stuff. You know, it was a super drag. So I was just like, man, all right, I'll deal with your I'd find like the shortest intro or whatever and just be like, yeah, that counts. You know, like get those out of the way, and now I can play what I brought with me. But yeah, like now, you know, I kind of got tired of doing like the actual like broadcast radio, because like after going to college there, and I booked shows at Howard's Club H while I was going to school there. The biggest show I ever did was something that is kind of, the genre is okay, is Crystal Castles. They're like an electronic band, but they were only doing like big arena, or sorry, not even big arenas, like festivals, and they decided to do like 1-200 cap room on their tour, and we sold that thing out way beyond capacity. Most money I've ever seen on a table. It was insane. But yeah, I decided to go back after, graduating and doing all that kind of show stuff, and went back to WXCT. And I'm like, you know what? I'd put like 3 or 4 hours into my show just to edit the damn thing. I'm tired of that. So I was like looking for new outlets. So I found internet radio, called it a podcast, even though it's not, it's just a radio show with no censorship, and it's the best. And I highly recommend people go and figure out a way to either go on mixcloud.com and start your own radio show that way, or if you can get onto a station, they aren't going to pay you, but
right.
It's a cool hobby to do. And the curating part really is just like looking up all these different band camps and really just sifting through all the garbage of just bad. There's just so much bad. And I don't even look at my inbox anymore because it's just like, spam of the worst things.
We know the feeling.
Yeah.
Oh, the inbox is the worst.
Yeah. So, it was just, I just got tired of it. So I'm just like, well, if I'm going to put time into it, I'll put time into sifting through the trash and find the good stuff. And, if I find 18 or more songs, great. That pretty much fills my whole show. I can do average between 18 and 22 songs in a 1 hour time. My show's like the less talk, more rock approach. I do it not for my ego. I do it because I want these bands to sell records. I want them to get some hype behind them. Anything I can do to help them, get more fans and followers and stuff like that. And I'll make sure to tag them, all on their social medias, at least on Instagram, because that seems to be where everybody's hanging out these days. I'll tag them in the posts so that they know, like, hey, I played you. Like I had explained this dude like just yesterday. He's like, here's my link to my band's EP, and I'm like, dude, I played you. Like, here's the playlist. You're track 1. Like it's just like, you should like really just spell it out for some people. But it's cool. I just love like finding these new bands, dude. And I'll go and look at Josh's blog, because he's like up to date, up to speed to like, this week. I'm sorry, Jay, that I can't look at your blog and be like, holy shit, Jay's on the same wavelength.
No, Josh has his finger on the pulse. That's
but
for
like,
sure.
when you were active, like I'd see all three of us being like writing about, or we'd be writing about, and I'd be playing all the stuff that we're like jazzed about all at the same time, and that was some cool shit. And then I've even been like, hey Josh, you checked this one out yet? And he's like, no. And he'll like start out like, Alex Kish, sends me the fucking best thing, ever in a while, and here's blah blah blah, and you talk about it. So that's like a super compliment to me being like the weird finding stick dude over in Ohio, the fucking nobody. And then there's Josh writes it, and it's all of a sudden they sell out of records.
Yeah, I love that. It's always better to get a direct message from Alex on Facebook than it is to get any regular email in my inbox, because it's just like this long, horrifying list of bands that I would never listen to.
For sure.
And who have clearly never read my blog to think that I would write about them on my blog. It's just amazing.
Oh yeah, I get stuff like that too in my inbox. It'll be like, we want you to play this like a new metal band. Sounds like that. I'll be like, do you even listen to my show? Like, no, I'm not gonna play it. I'm sorry. It's not that I'm smug about it. It's just like, and if you even took the time to just play like, I don't know, the intro, you'd be like, oh yeah, we probably shouldn't send this to him. Same deal with you. It's like, just read one review. Like, does free jazz fall into that? No, like you don't write about it.
I guess they're all out there just trying to hustle.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I appreciate the hustle. Anybody trying, awesome. But I think their MailChimp got lost there and sent it to our inbox on accident sometimes.
Oh yeah, dude. I think they just throw as much as they can against the wall and see what sticks.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you look at somebody like, okay, let's look at oh Josh, what's that girl's name from Red on Red?
Justine, yeah.
Yeah, Justine is dedicated, and her band was great. It's still great, and like she puts her heart into it, and you can really tell that she's like, right. I think she writes the reviews herself, not the reviews. I guess more of like the one sheet that we get sent, and it's like,
releases,
yeah, it's like, that's awesome. People like that, I'm not going to disregard theirs. Or like Lou over at Rumbar, I read his every time. I'm like, oh, this could be interesting, and it's always good stuff. Like,
I still love hearing from record labels. What I don't like is all the promotional people. The
Yeah.
except for Chad. Chad from Autogram is a cool promotional guy.
Yeah, but he also I think he selects who he gets to work with. Like
Yes.
he's not like given, like a dozen bands and said, "Hey, go promote this crap."
Right.
I
He's
think
not
he
promoting
selects.
stuff that he doesn't.
What?
Right.
If you guys can like ask him to just add me to his mail list, and he could put
Yeah,
the subject
dude.
line like
Oh, we would
this
love
one.
to.
He'll
just-
gladly do that.
He needs to put like the crazy subject line, like this will make you pee your pants. I don't know, something goofy. Like, but no, Autogram rules, man. It's like those guys are like what, like the Cars, right? But like updated
Yeah.
to like now, and it's so interesting. And I was like, I've played them a few times before I joined WFMU, and like I was just like, wow, what this band does is just puts out the coolest stuff. And then like they come out with another single, and I'm like, they outdo the last one. I'm like, hell yeah, that's the way. I mean, it's cool, like crossover Cars, Devo weirdness, and it's like all in the same vein of shit that I'm just like, wow, I wish more bands would do it where it sounded like Devo. Like, I don't know. Have you guys like got into the egg punk movement? These like dudes, it's just like a guy with a guitar and a drum machine and a tape deck in his basement, and he just hits record, and whatever the fuck comes out, it sounds like lo-fi Devo. Like goodbye Boozy Records puts out
think,
kind of shit.
I
And
think
it's like,
Jay,
it's
you
so
would be
good.
more into egg punk than chain punk.
What's the? I forget what is chain punk. give me somebody in chain punk. Now we're just gonna get obscure genres and we're gonna alienate our audience. But what is
that? That's what all the kids are talking about, is the egg punk and the chain punk. And
dude, this is all news to me. I don't know what any of this is.
So if you start hanging out with some millennials or some 20-somethings, they'll bring it down for you.
I'm on the brink of 40. I don't know. I mean,
I think the egg punk is probably a little bit more our speed, because as Alex says, it's probably more like a modern new wave.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess chain punk is like the new hardcore.
Like, what's one band that's chain punk? I need to go look this up
my
later.
expertise of young genres is not so great.
It only goes so far, I guess.
We'll have to study this and resume our conversation.
I'll go on Reddit or something and see if I can find like a nice.
Oh, seriously! If you Google that, you'll get stuff like popping up immediately. It's shocking.
Is it stuff like Chain Whip and Chubby and the Gang, that kind of shit? Okay,
the Chain Whip is just like a real
okay. I wasn't
hardcore band.
Okay, I wasn't certain if that's like.
Have you ever heard Chain Whip, Alex?
Yeah, I've played them. They're so good.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
that's a record I need to buy. I don't know about you guys. The pandemic has hurt my fucking wallet. Like, I've dropped thousands of dollars on records. It's like, this will make me happy today, and it does. But it's just like, but there's another one I got to go get tomorrow or whatever. I go to the store again. It's just like, holy shit!
Especially the beginning of the pandemic, it's
oh my
there
God,
was nothing to do but listen to music.
Yeah.
Or in the case of the musicians, to actually make music, and there was so much music. I think I went like 4 months where I was posting something every day, which I never do.
So what was your I'm gonna go back to my questions that I'm just doing off the cuff here. What was what was your gateway punk band that you're like, this band spoke to me? I need to find out more of that. I need to find more of this.
There was a couple, but I was a huge Husker Du guy.
Nice.
And it was just weird because I kind of got into Husker Du backwards, like starting with not the best stuff, but with like the hardcore stuff, and then working my way through getting into the more melodic things. So, and some people might not even say that they were a punk band, but they were a punk band to me, and
yeah,
a pretty revolutionary punk band. So yeah, that really big band for me. And of course, I was a huge pop punk guy in the early 90s.
I mean, who wasn't, right?
Like, love the Queers, love Screeching Weasel.
Yeah.
Still love Green Day.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Right.
And what I loved is that all that stuff sent me backwards to the Undertones, the Buzzcocks, and the Jam, and all Stiff Little Fingers, and all that great 77 stuff that really ultimately became like, once I stumbled upon that, that was like it. And that's still my favorite music ever, is like first generation punk rock, especially British punk rock.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What about you, Jay? What do you got? What was your first punk band that you were like, this is it? This is where I fit in this life?
Well, so the first punk band that really spoke to me was the Ramones, and it was I Want to Be Sedated. More specifically, the I Want to Be Sedated video, because I used to be really into hair metal when I was in junior high. Like, it just like the cheesiest, like Poison, LA Guns, Guns N' Roses, like Motley Crue. Like, I loved all that stuff. And I'd always watch Headbangers Ball. And for some weird reason, they stuck the video to I Want to Be Sedated on Headbangers Ball. And like, I it really took, like, what is this? And I'm like, these guys are playing everything I like about hair metal, but without any of the douchebaggery. It was
no solos.
No solos, no, off the crazy vocals. No, it was melodic, it was hard hitting, and that's what I loved about it. And so, yeah, then as soon as I hit, the Ramones, and I'm like, what else do I need to look up? Oh, Sex Pistols, and then, Clash, and, and then it just snowballed from there. And, like Josh was saying, also like parallel to all that, when I was a kid, I saw that movie La Bamba, which really, really spoke to me also. And then I just got really into Richie Valens and Eddie Cochran and Buddy Holly, and just, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis. And I was listening to that. And my mom, on the other hand, really liked British invasion stuff. She loved like the Beatles, early Kinks, early Rolling Stones, all that stuff. And so I was listening to that. And then with the punk stuff, and then I got it, like, I'm like, oh, that's, I heard, the Pistols and 50s rock and roll, and that I heard, I could hear it, all that in it. And that really, I was like, these are my people, So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's like your stories versus, well, mine's almost in line with Josh's, kind of, because, in like, what is it, 96, I was in 7th grade. So I'm like listening to the radio, trying to figure out what's cool. Alternative was hot shit at the time. Green Day kept getting played, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is the way. They need to like find more of this. And before I forget, you mentioned LA Guns. Tracy Guns was in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Tracy Guns this is back when I'm working the door at a dive bar on the backside of Club Bijou in Toledo, Ohio.
Oh no.
This place is haunted. Okay, mind you, I fucking was down in the basement of this place cleaning one night, and I felt like there was a ghost watching me through a mirror. I had to run out. It was scary. But anyway, Tracy Guns comes through one night. It's like 50 people there. They all got mullets, and like there's like some random younger girls there and whatnot. And his tour bus is out back, right outside the door. I'm watching the whole time. He's like, "Hey man, we got some coke, and we got some of these whores. If you wanna bang one, when we're done." I'm like, the fuck? I was like, no thanks, man. I'm good.
What do you think this is? What do you think we are right now, Tracy?
So I was like, Tracy, I was like, I appreciate the offer. Thank you. I was like, but would you mind signing my Guns N' Roses CD? I don't have your CD, but I have Guns N' Roses. So would you sign that? So he did.
Oh, he did?
My Appetite for Destruction CD cover, he fucking signed it, even though he's not on it at all.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, for punk rock, I think all of us can disagree that Green Day is something we all go back to. You, for Jay, you say Ramones. I didn't learn about Ramones till after I learned about Green Day. I fell down the Lookout Records train, got on that, and just rode it forever. I was
rode
that
that train too.
I was that young ass kid walking into record stores or like big box stores that sold CDs at the time with a list that I printed off, and I was like, "Do you have Mr. T Experience? No. How about 15? How about Crimp Shrine? Squirt Gun? No. All right, I'm out." I was just like, so bad, like didn't
This
find
place is dead to me.
right. So, but that same friend who showed me, well, it was a super nerd with Green Day with me, was also showed me Sex Pistols, and I was like, I don't know, man. This is okay. Green Day is still better, and I'm just like dumb and naive and didn't know. Come to find out that, like, you know, they're the reason why Green Day exists. It's like like I'm just a fool, dumbass seventh grader not doing shit about shit. Just being like, Green Day is gospel. Who's the Sex Pistols? But you know, it's all a learning thing. We're all learning about new bands every damn day.
Yeah, still.
Dude.
Yeah, and then like then I got into the drunk punk shit. I'm still a straight edge kid, by the way. I got into straight edge because of Strife and Earth Crisis, not because of Minor Threat. See, another backwards thing. But like, still straight edge now. I'm pushing 40, and it's just like, you know, still staying true to it. I do caffeine. Sorry, guys. I'm not one of those straight edge, but I smoke cigarettes. People thought that was always funny. But like, got into drunk punk shit from Chicago with Alkaline Trio, Lawrence Arms, Broadways, Asian Man Records. Love what Mike Park does. How he still runs a label out of his fucking garage.
Yeah.
I like recently bought a hoodie for Asian Man just because I'm like, this dude needs all the dollars that he can get, because he's still DIY as fuck and he's been doing it forever. And all his releases rule. Like, all that shit's so good, and it like is so dear to my heart, as much as like the stuff on Lookout. It's just like that was like the second wave of like the pop punk shit that I got into. But then I found like screamo and hardcore. It got really big into like D-Beat, doing like, you know, From Ashes Rise and Tragedy. Never got to see From Ashes Rise. Seen Tragedy 3 times, loved it. But you know, I think one of the best hardcore shows I can say that I booked back at Howard's Club H would be like Victims. They came in from Europe on a tour, and everybody was like, "Why the fuck are they playing at Bowling Green?" And I'm like, "Because I have the contact, and you guys don't up in Detroit. I'm sorry. I'm glad you came down. Thank you." And they like didn't like. They don't understand how shows work. I'm just like, "Thank you for supporting my show. I can pay this band." But I don't know if you guys have friends or have, you know, dealt or seen behind the curtain of how a show works, but it's a bastard to be like pretty much robbing Peter to pay Paul type situations where you're like, sweet, Atari's sold out. Next day, fuck, this Afro jazz band came in and I fucking lost it all. I had to give it all to them, or like go into the negative. It's a stressful ass job, but it was always a good time because it's cash business.
Yeah, I've put on a few, but there were always bands that like asked me to put them on, and then bands that I liked. So I'm like, yes, you know,
yeah, those are the best.
Toy Guitar, I think I put on a couple of theirs, and of course, I mean, there was plenty of people there. So Fat Records, I mean, you know,
right.
So Alex, you mentioned doing broadcast radio, and now you're doing internet radio. So like, I'm just curious, what are some of the pros and cons about doing one or the other?
Yeah, more or less, like, you know, the pros of doing like something where it's broadcast from a tower in your town is like, you know, people like will get to know you and listen in every week. You know, their car is kind of like that Pump Up the Volume movie where they're all set in their cars at like an open field and like, you know, yell along like, "Kick out the jams, motherfuckers!" Like, you know. And that's not why I use that clip. It's because I love MC5. But I always thought that movie was kind of cheese, but kind of great. And you know, if you haven't seen Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater being the best, you know, what do you want to call it, like ham radio DJ, and him fighting the FCC, you know. But yeah, check it out. It's great. It's as good as like him and Heather's. Like, it's up there, like, for Christian Slater greatness. But so I mean, like, the pros really is just like getting buzz going in town. You know, like my story about me and my buddy sitting and like trying to find out about, you know, hardcore bands that they're excited about, or punk bands they're excited about, and going and buying those tapes or CDs or whatever at the record store. You know, being excited about somebody here in my town, you know, being into stuff I'm into is cool. listening to the shows now, it's few and far between on those broadcast channels here. Maybe I'm listening at the wrong times. I mean, usually they give you like 10 p.m. to like 4 a.m. or something like that is the time they would give it to have live DJs on.
Yeah.
So you deal with like the weird times too. With internet radio, it's like you don't have to edit everything, which is great. Bigger audience, different listeners for sure. Like I'm actually like Wassup Rocker Radio is not popular here in Toledo. It's popular in Japan. It's popular in LA. It's popular in New York. Australia, I have like 5 or 6 dedicated listeners that go into the chat on WFMU every week to shoot the shit and just talk about how they like a certain song or whatever. And they're like dedicated too. And it's awesome. They also like, I can see that those listeners do donate to the channel, which definitely goes back to helping out the greater good of what WFMU is trying to do, is be as DIY as possible. But yeah, really for internet radio, it's just so much more freedom. You have the freedom to do really anything, play anything you want to, as long as it's not hate speech, of course. But you don't. It's a lot less time consuming to just be able to get your songs, line them up, do your show, and not have to edit out fucks and shits every couple songs.
Yeah, I bet.
So I think it's amazing if we're looking at you being in this radio thing now for more than 20 years,
right?
And you think about how insane the whole podcasting thing has gotten just the last like 4 or 5 years, and internet radio, and just how many millions of podcasts there are, and how literally, as we can see here, any idiot can start a podcast. It's just this huge thing now.
But I'm not even like kissing ass here. You guys aren't lumped into any idiot doing a podcast. I think you guys are doing some cool stuff.
I appreciate you, Alex.
For sure.
But it's just amazing to me though how popular this is, because it's just radio.
Right.
So why do you think this format is so appealing to so many people today?
Well, okay, so you've gone to the grocery store, right? And you've looked at like the soda aisle, right? Or really, let's go to like the snack aisle, chips or whatever. Like, have either of you guys been to Europe and seen what they have in their grocery stores, or seen what they have for their store selection? Like, I went to like Italy, and it's like you get in Italy, it's Pepsi if they have it, Coke it's Coke if they have it, Pepsi probably, Sprite, and just maybe like Diet Coke. That's it. That's all your selections are there. So think of like that as like music, right? And there's so much niche audiences, and there's niche genres. Like my girlfriend is listening to like a mystery podcast right now. I forget what it's called, but she's really into it. And it's like a murder mystery thing, and they like do a new little murder mystery. It's like 20 or 30 minute show, and it's story time. It's like books on tape. Like my girlfriend is big into books on tape there for a little bit, and I think that people that are younger that don't know about books on tape, they're just like, oh, a podcast, yeah, let's go and listen to that instead. Or maybe they're like a comedian, I don't know, trying to think of somebody's. It'd be sweet if like Chris Porter did like a podcast. I like his comedy. He's just crude, and it's just like it's still kind of PC. It's not as like so over the top like Bill Burr or somebody like that. Like, it's just like,
that's exactly what I was thinking when you were saying you're trying to go Bill Burr.
Like I like Chris Porter. If you want to check him out, my favorite stand-up he did was Ugly and Angry. I think you can just stream it on YouTube or something. But like, he's just so mad, but his like stuff is so like clever, and his stories are great. But it's like, I think that's what people are looking for, is just like somebody's like either made up story or something they can just get sucked into that's not just listening to a record. Like for me, it's like I'd rather just go put on, I don't know, I listened to like, I was like, fucking, I'm listening to Green Day Insomniac today, because I was like thinking about things that like got me into punk rock. And I was like, I remember like going out on my bike to go get Insomniac for $10 at Best Buy, like, and I listened to that today, like in its entirety. And I was like, this album still kicks fucking ass, man. So good. But then I listened to like Dark Side of the Moon like 3 days ago, and I'm like, this album still really fucking kicks ass. Especially watching, what is it? Wizard of Oz with it. I don't do drugs. Go back to straight edge. Never did drugs, but it's still amazing to watch that as you listen to that record on repeat 2 times. But really, like, I think that people just really want the story. You know, if you want to, you know, tie into like streaming services, I don't like the Spotify just putting it on a platter for you. Like, here's this thing we think you'll like because you looked up, you know, like the Dead Kennedys. We'll play. You also need to throw you like, you know, Teenage Kicks or something. It's just like, yeah, that makes sense, but like the segues aren't there, and I think that's why. Like that's what makes radio great when it's a live DJ or somebody who, you know, curated the show ahead of time. You're like, oh, they put some thought into that, and those songs would actually go together. And it's not just like a random because an algorithm figured out because they know how to study every sound and be like, well, this is on the same wavelength. Let's play this after that, and it'll make total sense. I don't know if you guys notice that when you listen to like Spotify or Pandora or something like that. It's just,
oh, dude,
it's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be the guy that would make mixtapes for everybody I knew, and a lot of thought goes into that. You're right. There has to be those segues. It's got to flow. In one form or another, even if it's just in your own head. It's got to make sense. It's not like like those. I don't know if you're too young, but like putting on like the 100 disc changers and then all your CDs and then hitting the shuffle and
my buddy had one of those. He had it for all the 90s rap though.
Yeah, it's I'm
sorry,
thinking about what it is that I even do with my blog, and it's kind of just like I'm making mixtapes for people.
Yeah.
Really, I'm just curating. Like, no one is coming to my blog to see my writing skills.
Sure they are. Don't say that.
They're coming to find out about music that they think they're gonna like, and so that's been kind of one of my secrets behind the curtain with this particular blog versus my previous incarnations, is that this would never be about me. This would be exclusively to highlight the music and share cool bands with people who might want to hear them, because that's the thing about this world of music today. There's just so much out there,
right?
Yeah,
and so much of it is probably not good or not our taste. And so I like knowing that with Alex's show, I'm going to hear stuff that's cool to me, and I'm going to find out maybe stuff that I should be writing about. And I would hope that people are maybe getting that same thing from my blog, where, oh yeah, I like that. I'm actually gonna go buy that because I was able to listen to a couple of tracks.
I don't know, man. I've heard from people that you're the authority, dude. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, like you're like MRR, like review level. Like, people are like, what did he write about? All right, I got to check this shit out because he says it's great. Or like a band will send you something, or you'll like. They'll be shocked he wrote about it, and they'll be like, holy shit, I could this is like great because he put his stamp of approval.
Lord Rutledge #1.
Right? Yeah.
Faster and Louder blog. Dude, when we started our blog, and he and Josh on his like end of the year list named our blog like blog of the year thing. Dude, me and Ed were like, can you believe that, dude? Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. I can't believe he reads our blog. and then when we started doing the Audio Ammunition podcast, which was very short-lived, by the way, we asked Josh, and we're like, dude, there's no way he's gonna say yes. There's no way. And then he did, and he was like a totally cool, like down-to-earth dude. I couldn't believe it. And so, yeah, Josh, man, Alex is right. People, pay attention.
It's always cool to find another blog that I like, because there never were that many. There's always all of that super cool stuff, hipster stuff out there, or the ones that just do like, cut and paste the press release. But like Audio Ammunition, I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. That they have similar taste to mine. Of course, with Mick's blog.
Yeah,
loved
that was
it
another
from,
guy too.
First time I ever
what was
saw
his?
it. and now we've got add to want list. I'm like, as soon as I started reading add to want list, I'm like, oh my God, they're like me, but like better. It's like, it's just so cool to find kindred spirits out there.
Yeah. Mix is just some punk songs.
Oh, okay. Oh, you said Mick. Okay. I talked to Mick earlier today, actually. He like posted him and Wayne Elliott, who does Pulse Beat radio. Both those dudes are super hip, and we're in a chat on Facebook where they'll just post their playlist, and I'm the asshole who doesn't post it because I'm just like, I just screenshot it and whatever else and send it to them. But they have it all typed up all nice and whatnot, and I'm like, they played that song, he played this one. I guess I'll play the other one off that EP or that album because all three of us are going to cover it in some way, shape, or form. But like, he was talking to me about the new Sprints album or Sprints EP today, and he's like, this is the first time I played every song off of their release. Like, I don't do that. I'm like, all right, well, that speaks loudly to me as a female fronted band, from the UK, who's, talking about depression and wanting to just get the fuck out of the bars. And that was like the song I picked for like one of my sickest songs of the week. Features was a Sprint song. And she's just like, talking about not feeling fine and everything. And I think there's some bands that are writing about the pandemic in a way that's not just being like, fuck COVID-19. They're just like, being real about it. Like, what's another one? Oh, the band that came out today with the new record, Pinch Points. They're from Australia. And the song says, what is it? I get anxious. And she's like, when I get anxious and I read online, I get anxious when I'm feeling fine. Like, it's just like, it's so real. It's so genuine lyrically. And I like how like some bands are just being more creative with it instead of just being like, it's the same deal as being like, fuck Trump. It's like, don't be so blatant. Fucking get creative about it and talk about how you really feel about this whole deal. I'm waiting to see what kind of shit's going to come out from all this conflict over in Russia. I think there's going to be a lot of really, really mad bands speaking some really serious truths.
These times, it can inspire such good stuff. Like, I'm still like so nuts over that latest Expats record because
oh my God,
that's the pandemic record the world needed.
Yeah. And the album art on that, like, that looks like a fine art painting from like 1700s or something. Like, it was super cool looking. I don't know if they just had some art school kid painted or what, but I thought I was really impressed with them choosing that artwork. And if it was hand painted by somebody I knew, holy shit, that's a lot of talent there. And then the album to back it up being a whole solid record. I remember reading your review about it, Josh, and you being like, this is it. This is the best thing. Pretty much like all the way through. Great solid record. So I 100% agree. I didn't play all the songs on my show, but I played a handful of them. And the ones I did, I was like, this. I mean, that band was great before that album too. Like I had one of those on the Six Sounds comps that I did too. But I was gonna talk about. I'm sorry.
We do like a lot of the same artists. Like, I know we're both like massively into like Brad Marino and Haley and the Crushers.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if you had like certain bands like right now that are like your favorite out there right now.
Well, I'm trying to hold on. I'm sorry, I got to do my cheat sheet here. Can you edit this part out for me, Jay?
Of course.
Sure.
Sorry, I like I said, I've spent grands of money in the last year.
Right. It's almost hard to keep track of all of it.
So let's start with like most recent shit that I was like, I need to own this. There's this label called Just Add Water Records. They do a lot of reissues, a lot of interesting stuff. They put out Hector's Wired Up 7-inch, and I was like, I love that song. Holy shit, I can finally own like the 45 of it. So I picked up that and their other Hector release, Bye Bye Bad Days. If you're listening and you like glam rock, buy these records because they're staples of the genre. Like, Wired Up is like is as big as like Fox on the Run to me. Like, so fucking good, man. then I get weird and I buy things like this dude, Stack Weddy, came out in 1971, and it has the grime of the Stooges, standard blues riffs going on, but the self-titled record is all live, but you couldn't even tell that it's live at all. It's just an interesting listen. But track 1, I'm just like, this is Stooges intensity, like sleaze, like it's so good. So I bought both of his records. His other one is called Bugger Off. They both got recently reissued in the last couple of years. I bought the latest, or sorry, what am I saying? The latest, not latest. 1973 Wizard Brew record. I was stoked to find that because that guy is a crazy person and well respected. I think on top of the pops, like had him like featured like freaking T-Rex on there, and he's just a weirdo with face paint doing his thing. And his Christmas song is actually like one of my favorite things he's ever done. So if you want an interesting, cool Christmas song to weird out your family, play Wizard's Christmas song. It's actually like a really awesome, great listen, and the video's really bizarre on YouTube. So
yeah, I was gonna say it's still on YouTube.
The Abbey Ooze 7-inch, I know Josh wrote about that. I had to buy that when it came out on vinyl. I'm like, holy shit, day one I bought it, and it sat in a not sent state for like a month and a half, 2 months. So I'm like, it ain't coming. I guess it is donated to her, but it finally showed up, and it was all that I loved about it the first time I listened to it on Bandcamp and stuff. And but that one I was really excited about for something that came out of the United States, because a lot of the shit that I'm like jacked about is not even from here. It's like Australia is killing it, like with tons and tons of bands. UK killing it with tons of bands too. And you know, I find myself buying those records when I can, when there's a distro that picks it up and decides to sell it over here in the States and doesn't charge $1 billion. Like I ended up buying that Civic record, Future Forecast, and I found that through a distro here. I think it was somewhere in the West Coast, somewhere I picked it up, and super excited to have that one, because that was like my like #1 record in the last year. I think it came out in 2020, 2021. The Blowers record from Australia, self-titled album, I found that over in Pennsylvania at Get Hip. Those guys had a copy, and I was really pumped to finally get that and then had to pay the crazy ship on it.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, as we wind things down, where can people go to follow you, to listen to Wassup Rocker Radio, follow your radio show?
All the links are really on the website. It's whatsupRockerRadio.com. It's WASSUP Rocker Radio.
Well, hey man, let me do our little spiel here, and then stick around and we'll chat a little bit afterwards. After we start recording. But anyway, on behalf of our guests, Alex Kish, Josh, and myself, Jay Castro, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to our humble podcast. We appreciate every listen, every comment, and criticism to our podcast. If you like what you heard, please hit that subscribe button, and if possible, leave us a review of the podcast. Not only does it help our show, of course, but it also helps spread the word about all the amazing folks we have on our show. So this is the Born Too Late podcast, signing off.